A farmer and his son were taking their donkey to market. It was an old donkey and it had served them well, but they needed to get a new donkey to help out around the farm, and so it was time to say goodbye to old Peg. As they walked along, they passed a group of travellers. The travellers nudged each other and pointed and said, "Look at that! Ah, what a useless donkey! Nobody's riding it! Ah, what a ridiculous waste!" The man looked at his son. The son looked at his father. And the father said, "Well, get on the donkey. We probably should make use of her while we can." And so the son climbed up onto old Peg's back, and they walked along for a little bit further. Soon they came to a group of people sitting under the shade of a big spreading oak tree. And the people saw them and laughed and said, "How terrible! That lazy boy letting his father walk while he just sits there and rides on that donkey." The father heard this and looked at his son, and his son looked at him. And the father said, "You better get down. I'll take a turn sitting on old Peg." And so he climbed up on old Peg's back, and the boy led. And they walked for a little bit further. And soon they came to a group of women standing outside somebody's front door. And the women tisked and shook their heads and said, "Look at that man sitting on the donkey's back while his young son has to ride. What a terrible waste." The man looked at his son and the son looked at the man, and they didn't quite know what to do now. Thought the man, "What do we do?" And then he had an idea, and he got his son to sit up in front of him, and they both rode old Peg into town. As they entered the town, people turned and stared and shook their heads. Some people scowled at them. Some even turned away. "What?" said the man. "What are we doing wrong?" Said somebody from the crowd. "You are overburdening that poor old donkey. Look at her. She can barely walk with the two of you on her back." The man and the son scrambled down from old Peg and checked that she was okay, and she was looking quite tired. And so the man and his son heaved and scrabbled and pulled her up onto their backs. Poor old Peg, she was really frightened by this point, so she kicked and she struggled and she stretched, and soon they all fell over in a big heap. Peg scrambled to her feet. She kicked again and ran off, disappearing up through the town, over the bridge, and out to the fields beyond. They'd lost her. They'd lost their only donkey, and here they were at market with nothing to sell. The boy and the man looked at each other and shook their heads. They said, "What should we do now?" An old man had been watching them, and he smiled and said, "Remember, you can't please all the people all the time."